Survey says
Hey,
Channelwood.
Channelwood. So now, since we're right here, go ahead and look at the water and talk about
Yeah.
the scum, because you were just talking about that.
Yeah, so speaking of water shaders, this was yet another flavor of water shader we did, and I'm actually really happy with the way the water in Channelwood turned out. I don't want to get too like Unreal tech artist geeky, but
Dive in. I bet
oh no, you
people
don't
will.
want to trust me. You don't want that.
People will savage me in the comments if you don't say something. Now that you've thrown it out.
So I think this is a 3-layer shader. The textures were done by Lance Vermeer, who also did a lot of the tree work that you see. The amazing like root structures and stuff for these trees was all Lance, and as well as the foliage that got populated down here too. And holy crap, it really came together. This one came together quick. This one went from being like an empty, weird-looking, barren landscape to like this rich, dense forest, all within just a few weeks of adding. Like I added the fog, we added the new trees, we added the grass,
Sure.
and then once the swamp water got in there, it just added. I don't know how much of this is coming through on your end, but it undulates, right? It's sort of like
Right. There's a couple of layers going on.
yeah. Actually,
Yeah.
it's not that. So it
looks like there's a couple of layers going on.
yeah, the water does have a little movement. If I find some open water here, there is actually a little bit of there's a little bit of like ripply water going on.
Yeah.
But the undulation, so that's actually done using what's called a vertex shader, which is where you manipulate the geometry of the mesh. And so I'm actually, there's sort of a rough grid. I'm actually moving the points of the grid around and like using some sine waves to make it seem like it's all ooky, mucky water. Math. Don't be like me, kids. Study math when you're in school and pay attention because it's useful. This is all math. It's all math.
Oh, wow.
All right, I'll stop staring at the water. Hey, look, it's Channelwood.
Yeah, there you go. There's a frog around here somewhere, I'm sure.
There is. Let's go hunt a frog. I see him. What's up, frog?
Look at that. Get it. Oh, there it goes,
There he
splashing
goes.
everything. Man.
This age, I have a special. Well, it's true of all these ages. I feel like I have a special place in my heart for each and every one of these. But Channelwood, for some reason, is just so iconic for the original Myst.
So unpack that. There is a special place in your heart for Channelwood because.
Oh boy, this is like when you think the original Myst. This age, and I think Rand would back me up on this. This and Stone Ship are the two that feel like the most cohesive. They feel like fully realized thoughts, fully thought through puzzle sequence. The puzzles mirror the construction of the age, the backstory, the idea that the brothers and Atris who visited here. It shows their impact on the space.
Right.
It's, I don't know. To me, this is like a glimpse into what Myst would become later, right? With more time and more eyes on it and more craft, I guess, more people involved. I feel like you can catch a whiff of Riven in this space and in Stone Ship. It's sort of like this proto Riven, right? Yeah, I don't know. It's hard to encapsulate, and some of it's just like raw iconography too. The spiral staircase up this tree is so baked in.
Yeah, the fog is so iconic. The feeling that, man, there's so much fog that you don't know if that forest could go on forever.
Yeah. That was particularly a challenge for this project because I'm the fog guy. I wrote our fog system, and in the original game, the way fog was done was the way old timey computer graphics. Let me just turn on some water and solve some puzzles while we're chatting. It's the way it was always done, which was just this linear, gross CG fog that just sort of goes infinitely to the horizon. And one of the goals that I set out on this project was a desire to have the fog have a lot more character, and to have what I call chunky fog, for that's a technical term.
But even there, I can see it. There's
Yep.
there's a big bank of sort of foggy stuff.
Absolutely, yeah. And the two ages where I really got to sort of showcase that were here and Selenetic, which we'll see a little later. And I feel really, really happy about the way we were able to get the fog working, because I feel like it is chunky. I can see right in front of us here. There's a fog bank that's obscuring some trees, but then just to the side I can see further into the forest, and it's like these localized little banks of fog. And the fog is, I haven't actually talked much about the fog system, but the fog is it has some volumetric directionality, so it knows where the sun is, and it's shading itself accordingly. And it's kind of a hybrid system where from a distance I'm using textures to really articulate the shape of the fog, and they're animated and flowing and all that stuff. But then when you get up close, especially the fog that you can actually step inside of, it transitions to a true volumetric fog, where you can actually get rays of light casting from objects or from the sun. And it worked out really well, and glad we were able to ship it.
It definitely, I remember my first time diving into this version of Channelwood, and remembering that feeling of like, as I'm walking into the fog, it's peeling back. There's like a physical, almost a physical, like it's receding as I walk into it, which is kind of what real fog does, or at least
kind of,
There's the appearance of that happening, or what have you, and it definitely gave me that chilling,
cool.
Ooh, this
awesome.
is different. Wow, love it.
We did it.
We did it.
We tricked Jeff. Oh, here's another frog.
Yeah, there you go. I'm just the marketing guy. It's easy to trick the marketing guy. Yeah.
This frog makes me happy. One of our animation lead, Autumn, implemented the frog system along with Hannah, and I love it because it's like interactive. We don't usually do a whole lot of super player things that react directly to the player in Cyan games. I mean, we try to. It's just they're sometimes hard to do.
Right.
And so having sneaking that one in here makes me very happy, because and people get surprised by it. They're like, "Wait, what's this frog's responding to my presence?"
Yeah,
it's kind of nice.
Yeah. So, do you want to dive into the pathway stuff here, or is that a deeper dive for a different time?
You're talking about the walkways.
The walkways, because I can go either way. I can tease it and say we'll do this at a later date.
Let's do that at a later date, because I feel like in order to do that, I would want to go over to Unreal and really show the nuts and bolts of how those are put together. But I would love to do that at some point. And that's one for any of you like Unreal or video game art tech nerds. That's a video you'll want to watch. Yeah.
Cool. Can you say something more about Unreal in the process? I know that's kind of a broad open statement, but we do get all the time people commenting on just the fact that we're using Unreal. So for somebody who doesn't know, doesn't have a deep background in game development, what exactly does that mean? What's that?
What, like when you say we use Unreal or the Unreal Engine? Okay, sure.
Yeah.
So like I said in a previous clip that may or may not have been just 20 minutes ago, I mentioned that Cyan historically has used the Plasma engine for a number of games, notably Uru, the MMO that we did. The Plasma engine was a fully in-house homebrew engine. Like, the programmers wrote it from scratch and maintained it and all that stuff. That has certain advantages and disadvantages. One of the advantages is that you have absolute control over the code that is being run, and so it can be sort of customized to do whatever you need, exactly what you need. The downside, though, is that if you want to do something that the engine doesn't already do, you have to write it from scratch.
Sure.
And that means time and energy and maintenance and all that. So for I guess ever since Plasma, Cyan for a time used an engine called the Unity engine, and we are now using an engine called the Unreal engine. Both of those are third-party engines. Unreal in particular is really known for being accessible to. I should say, it makes game logic accessible to people who aren't necessarily game programmers.
Okay.
Which is this guy. This engine has revolutionized my career. Honestly, it's allowed me, somebody who's technically inclined, but I'm not a full programmer, to be able to contribute in ways that I was never able to before. So all of the shaders that you see on screen are shaders that, for the most part, I was able to write from scratch and build whole pipelines around and customize and get them to do what we want them to do. And that was never possible for me prior to Unreal, just because of the tools that it provides. So again, there's upsides and downsides. The upside to an engine like Unreal is it gives us all kinds of capabilities right out of the box, and it also, because it's an open source engine, allows us to have our own team of very skilled programmers customize it and add new features or modify the existing features or fix things that aren't working the way we want them to.
Sure.
The downside is that oftentimes, like, when Epic Games, the company that produces Unreal Engine, makes a new version of it, and we want to switch to the new version, we have to spend a whole lot of time integrating their changes with our changes, and the programmers love that, as you might imagine.
So what you're saying is it's not as easy as just pushing a big red easy button.
Correct. Yes, it is not. It turns out the game development's actually very difficult and complex.
I feel like somebody should be taking notes. I mean, not me, but somebody should be taking notes.
But on the whole, like, I am very, very happy using Unreal, and I feel very much at home using Unreal. And we've still been able to really put our own stamp on things, right? So, like, our VR interaction system is completely written from the ground up. Our optimization pipeline, which is something that has sort of really come into maturity on this project in particular, kind of written from the ground up, to allow us to take a data set like this and deploy it both to a platform like Quest, which is really an Android cell phone device, all the way up to the latest Xbox, and everything in between, all flavors of PC and VR in between. So
interesting. Wow. Do you? This is a question I know I've asked you before in other forums, but it feels like it would be worthwhile to maybe get like a 1 or a 2 minute, if you can, sort of wrap around on the notion of what's a shader. Is there like an easy explanation for the person who doesn't know what a shader is?
Sure. A shader is, if I say a texture, am I allowed to use the word texture?
Of course.
Okay.
You're allowed to use any words you want, even the dirty ones.
It's just a 2-minute bleep of
That's right.
A shader is here. I'll use this bucket as an example. It's a little low res. Let me find something that's gonna. What's a good example? I will go to.
And while you're going, I will say, as not a game developer, as when I came on board, one of the things that was a real surprise to me, or something I learned, was just how ubiquitous shaders were. Like I could have probably given you sort of a hand wavy version of what a shader was, not realizing they're everywhere, and they do a ton of heavy lifting, and it's amazing how much goes on with just something simple like a shader, or something simple sounding like a shader. Shaders that's my happy place, by the way. Shaders is where I feel the most comfortable, and it's where I've done the most sort of personal development, is like how what shaders are and how they work. I'll use the water because there's a lot of stuff I can grab onto here. Cool.
A shader is basically a very small we're gonna get real dorky here for a second. A shader is a program that runs as the screen is being drawn, and I mean that quite literally. If you think about your screen as a grid of pixels, every pixel on the screen, it basically says, "Hey, there's some geometry in front of me, but I need to figure out what this thing is." And so I happen to be looking at some wood planking and some metal pipes and a lot of water. And it'll go out and say, "Hey, I hit some wood plank. Let me run that wood shader." And what that shader does is it literally says, it knows, here's a texture that I need to sample. Here's what's called a normal map, which is another type of texture that tells a surface what direction it's pointing. And so like geometry is big triangles, right? It's actual, like people think of wireframe. I can't show one, but if you think of a wireframe, in order to get to fake detail, like if I look down at the wood, I can see individual grains of wood and cracks and crevices and grime. All of that is too much detail to store in geometry, and so we fake it with textures. And so it samples textures and it blends color together, and it knows where the sunlight is, and it uses a normal map to sort of shade the surface based on the direction of the sun, and it adds specularity, which is like light highlights that you'll see glinting off the surface. So like if I look at the ocean or the water, I can see that there's that bright spotlight, which is the reflection of the sun. And it's doing that all with math. It's doing it with mathematical calculations, and then it's returning a color. And then it's doing that for every pixel. And so when you talk about shaders, you're talking about the program that runs when a pixel is asked by the renderer to be drawn. Like, hey, I want to draw you. What color are you? And there's it's like there's a wide open sky of options. And when you hear me talking about things like, oh yeah, the water has multiple layers, it's like I'm stacking multiple textures on top of each other, and then I'm moving them around, and I'm telling them to be shiny here and not shiny there, and that's what a shader is.
Right. So I'm going to use this opportunity to tell our audience that if they want a deeper dive on shaders, Eric has done a full series, which we have also on the Cyan YouTube channel. I think 5-6 episodes.
Oh, the building firmament series or whatever it was called?
Yeah. 5-6 half dozen episodes, somewhere thereabouts, which is a super deep dive, like on the tech side of things. So if that scratches an itch, or you're interested in maybe more than a 2-minute version, that's probably a really good place to go. A really good primer. I think we called it Building Firmament, the series, and I believe we even have a playlist of it. So, and
if you want more of that, let Jeff know, and then he'll let me know, and then he'll make me work.
Absolutely, because I mean, we can do this a lot. I mean, this is fun stuff. So we can make nerdier videos. I
was going to say, like, the other ones are even more fun because I can put on my full nerd gear, and I would love it if people were interested in that. I can talk about that stuff all day. So
cool. Well, we're gonna stop playing around in Channelwood.
All right,
and we're gonna jump to whatever's next.
I think I know which one's next. I'm going to hit this button, and we'll find out.